Hi, I'm Bob. Welcome back to the tutorial on solving the exercises in the textbook Microeconomics Theory and Applications with Calculus, the 5th edition. We are going to discuss the problems related to the monopolistic competition model.
Let's answer exercise 6.1.
What is the effect of a government subsidy that reduces the fixed cost of each firm in an industry in a cornered monopolistic competition equilibrium? We can draw graphs to show the effect of the subsidy on the monopolistic competition equilibrium. The first figure shows the original monopolistic competition equilibrium. Each firm produces Q* units, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. The residual demand curve determines the market price, P*. Because price equals average cost, the firm makes zero profit. The second figure illustrates what happens when the firms receive a subsidy. The government subsidy reduces the firm's fixed cost. The firm's average cost falls. The average cost curve shifts down. As a result, the price is higher than the average cost at the original output Q*. Each firm earns a positive profit, equal to the blue area in the graph. The third figure shows that the positive profit in the industry attracts new firms to enter the market. With more firms in the market, each firm's residual demand curve shifts to the left, meaning that each firm sells fewer products at a given price. The new equilibrium price falls. At the new monopolistic competition equilibrium, price equals average cost and each firm earns zero profit. Compared to the original monopolistic competition equilibrium, the new equilibrium has a lower market price and a higher market output, although each firm produces less. Let's solve exercise 6.2. In the monopolistically competitive airlines model, what is the equilibrium if firms face no fixed costs? As firms face no fixed costs, the average cost equals the marginal cost. Because in the monopolistic competition equilibrium, the equilibrium price P* is higher than the marginal cost at the equilibrium quantity Q*. The price must be higher than the average cost. Thus, the firm earns a positive profit, which equals the blue rectangle area in the graph. The positive profit attracts new firms to enter the market. Each firm's residual demand curve, dr, shifts to the left as a result. The equilibrium price and profit fall until the price equals the marginal cost and the number of firms in the market approaches infinity. It is the same as the price-taking competitive equilibrium. Let's solve exercise 6.3. In a monopolistically competitive market, the government applies a specific tax of $1 per unit of output. What happens to the profit of a typical firm in this market? Does the number of firms in the market change y. At the original monopolistic competition equilibrium E, each firm produces Q star units, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Each firm earns zero profit because at the equilibrium, the price P star equals the average cost. The specific tax raises the firm's marginal cost by $1 per unit. The marginal cost line shifts up by $1. Thus, the average cost curve shifts up too. The equilibrium price will be less than the average cost. It leads to a loss. Some firms will leave the market. As a result, each firm's residual demand curve shifts to the right because there are fewer firms in the market. At the new monopolistic competition equilibrium, the price equals the average cost and each firm earns zero profit. Let's find answers to exercise 6.4. Does an oligopoly or monopolistically competitive firm have a supply curve? Why or why not? Before examine whether an oligopoly or a monopolistic competition firm has a supply curve, we review why a monopoly firm has no supply curve. A supply curve represents the quantity supplied by the firm at each possible price, holding other factors constant. It is a one-to-one mapping between the price of a good and the quantity of that good a producer is willing to supply at that price, meaning that for each price point on the curve, there is only one corresponding quantity supplied, and vice versa. For a monopoly firm, as the graph shows, when the demand curve changes from D1 to D2, the monopoly equilibrium changes from E1 to E2. The monopoly quantity stays the same, but the monopoly price falls from P1 to P2. The same quantity is associated with two different prices. There is no unique relationship between price and quantity. Therefore, a monopoly firm has no supply curve. Next, let's consider an oligopoly firm or a monopolistically competitive firm. In our analysis of their behavior, we treat them like a monopoly with respect to the residual demand curve. The change in the residual demand curve may not map out a unique relationship between price and quantity, so they have no supply curve. Let's solve exercise 6.5. Show that a monopolistically competitive firm maximizes its profit where it is operating at less than full capacity or minimum efficient scale, which is the smallest quantity at which the average cost curve reaches its minimum, the bottom of a U-shaped average cost curve. The firm's minimum efficient scale is the quantity at which the firm no longer benefits from economies of scale. The smallest quantity at which the average cost curve reaches its minimum is referred to as full capacity or minimum efficient scale. It corresponds to the bottom of a U-shaped average cost curve. Two conditions hold in a monopolistically competitive equilibrium. Marginal revenue equals marginal cost, and price equals average cost. We know that a monopolistic competition firm faces a downward sloping residual demand curve DR. So the price must be higher than marginal revenue at equilibrium. It leads to the fact that the average cost must be higher than the marginal cost. Because the marginal cost curve goes through the average cost curve at its minimum. The section where the average cost is greater than the marginal cost corresponds to the downward sloping part of the average cost curve, as the blue area shows in the graph. So, a monopolistically competitive firm operates at less than full capacity.
Yet it's just exercise 6.8.
Exercise 6.5 shows that a monopolistically competitive firm maximizes its profit where it is operating at less than full capacity. Does this result depend upon whether firms produce identical or differentiated products? Why? If the products are differentiated, the firms face downward sloping residual demand curves because they will not lose all customers when they raise the price. A monopolistically competitive firm operates like a monopoly with respect to its residual demand curve and sets the marginal revenue corresponding to the residual demand equal to the marginal cost. For a downward sloping residual demand curve, the average cost must be greater than the marginal cost at the monopolistic competition equilibrium, meaning that the firms operate at less than full capacity. If the products are identical, the firms face a horizontal demand curve. We cannot analyze the firm's behavior like a monopoly. Firms could operate at full capacity. Let's solve exercise 6.7. In solved problem 14.4, what fixed cost would result in 4 firms operating in the monopolistically competitive equilibrium? What are the equilibrium quantities and prices? We tackle the problem in 2 steps. In the first step, we compute the profits if firms engage in cornered competition. When the number of firms changes, the profit changes. In the second step, we examine the fixed cost that makes the entry of new firms unprofitable. We first write a table for the price, quantity, and profit in the cornered model for different numbers of firms. An example of computation for n equals 4 is as follows. For a linear market demand, P equals A minus B times Q, and a marginal cost of M, the textbook gives the formula for the cornered model with many identical firms. In our example, n equals 4, A equals 339, B equals 1, and M equals 147. Substituting all the values into the formula, we obtain the equilibrium price, each firm's output, and profit. Similarly, we can calculate the profits for other values of n. In the second step, we explore the range of the fixed costs that results in 4 firms in the monopolistic competition equilibrium. If the fixed cost equals $1.475 million, then the equilibrium has 4 firms, each of which earns 0 profit. If the fixed cost is greater than $1.475 million, then firms make a loss, and some will leave the market in the long run. The number of firms will drop to 3. If the fixed cost is between $1.024 and $1.475 million, then the monopolistically competitive equilibrium still has 4 firms because a 5th firm will cause a loss, and therefore no profitable entry is possible. Thus, 4 firms operate in a monopolistically competitive equilibrium if the fixed cost is greater than $1.024 million and less than or equal to $1.475 million. Thank you for watching this video and subscribing to my YouTube channel. See you next time.